The scent of coffee arrived before she did, but it wasn't the coffee, it was her. Clean skin, cold mornings, hands trembling as they tried not to drop the tray. She entered, and everything in me stopped. Aurora. I didn't know her name yet, just the shadow of a girl, too thin, wrapped in cheap fabric and hair tied back carelessly. She moved like part of the floor, quiet, unnoticed. But to me, she was the only sound in the room. Her cup clinked as it touched the porcelain. A ridiculous, meaningless sound. But in that second, I swear to everything I am, the world went silent to hear. She didn't look at it. She didn't have to. I felt her body like it was my own. The slight shake in her wrist. Breath caught in her throat. Tension in. She knew I was watching. And still, she kept going. That's just the bastard, Juliana said beside me. We serve coffee in silence with her. Nothing else. I turned to her with a smile that never reached my eye. Funny, I murmured. She seems to serve much more than that. Juliana froze. I looked back at the. She pulled back. Not her feet. Her whole body, like a wounded animal, proud and cornered. There was something broken in, but also something sharp, like pain had carved a blade where there once was a flower, and that was it. Right then, I knew she would be mine, not as a maid, not as a toy, not as a bargaining chip, mine, with a name, with a ring, with power, with fear and fire in her eyes, for me. She saw me, finally, our eyes locked, unforgiving, like wet forest, like a storm, like everything I never had and never knew I needed. She tried to look away. I didn't let her. Tilted my head, just slightly. She froze, and the air between us shifted. My blood caught fire. My control slipped. Every instinct inside me, the man, the predator, the king, screamed for her. She didn't know it, but I did. That night, leaving Juliana's house, I went straight to my car. Called one of my men. The girl's father, I said. Does he owe us anything? Yes, sir. Behind. 3 months. Do you want us to? No, I smiled. I want him to pay. With her. Tomorrow. Silence. As a maid, sir? I didn't answer right away. What she is, who she is, I'll decide. I hung up, leaned my head back, closed my eyes, and saw her, pouring coffee, shaking, staring, not knowing she had just shattered everything I thought was untouchable. She doesn't know it yet, but she just started a war. And the moment she looked at me, I surrendered to it, willingly.
I couldn't breathe. The air in my lungs wouldn't settle. Not even after the dishes were cleared and Juliana's voice finally disappeared behind her bedroom door. My fingers still trembled from the coffee tray. He saw it. I know he did. He saw me. And I hated that he did. Hated it because a part of me, something I'd buried deep, wanted it. Wanted that burn of attention, that shiver that crawled over my skin when his eyes touched me. Adrian. The name was everywhere now. On lips. On fear. On power. He had only just taken over. The new heir to the Vitale Empire, cold, ruthless, brilliant, dangerous, and now, inexplicably watching me. Why? There were prettier girls, smarter ones, confident, polished. I was just nothing, the unwanted one, the ghost in my own home. Juliana never let me forget it. You were a mistake, she once spat. Even your mother couldn't bear to stay. But tonight, when Adrian looked at me, it was like none of that existed. I don't even remember walking out of the dining room. My body was too full of heat, too full of panic. I ran to my room, locked the door, and sat on the cold floor, hugging my knees, heart thundering. My skin wouldn't cool. I tried to scrub the feeling away, that burning between my thighs, that ache in my chest, but it stayed. And then, I made the worst mistake of all. I closed my eyes and saw him. He wasn't even touching me, just watching, standing there, in the doorway of my mind, silent and terrifying and beautiful in the way only monsters could be. But in the dream, I stepped toward him. My dream self wasn't afraid. She wanted. Her hands reached for his shirt. Her lips parted like they knew what they were doing. And when he moved, slow, commanding, I woke up gasping. Shame hit me like a wave. I covered my mouth, horrified by the heat rushing through me. What is wrong with me? I had never thought of a man like that before. Never felt anything like this. Lust was for other people. The beautiful ones, the bold ones, not me, and certainly not for him. A man like Adrian would never look at me like a woman. He couldn't. He looked at people like property, like pieces on a chessboard. So why did I feel like I was burning under his gaze? The knock on the door made me jump. I froze. Another knock. I didn't speak, didn't move, please no. But nothing followed. No voice, no footsteps retreating, just silence. I stood slowly, walked to the door, and pressed my ear against it. Nothing. I opened it just a crack, empty hallway. But on the floor, a box, wrapped in deep blue silk, with a single note resting on top. No name, just one word, handwritten in sharp ink. Tomorrow. My fingers shook as I picked it up. Inside, a black dress. Expensive, delicate, designed to fit close to the body and leave too little to the imagination. My throat tightened. Was this a joke? A punishment? Or something worse? I didn't know what Adrian wanted. I didn't understand why he looked at me like I was his, when I was barely my own. But the truth settled in my chest like gravity. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I couldn't stop feeling things I had no name for. And that terrified me more than Juliana ever could. I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't understand why my heart ached when he stared. But one thing was already clear. Whatever this was, it had already begun.
She arrived at dusk. The car rolled up the gravel path as I waited by the balcony, hands clenched behind my back. I wasn't supposed to be watching, not directly, but patience has never been my virtue, not with her. She stepped out slowly, holding a single small bag. Her eyes scanned the mansion, not in awe. She looked like a girl brought to slaughter. Good, let her believe. I let her stand there long enough for the cold to kiss her skin, for the weight of this place to settle on her shoulders. Then I turned from the window and went down to meet her. When I entered the foyer, she was already inside, standing on the marble floor, damp from her boots. She didn't see me at first. She was too busy trying to disappear. She was wearing that pathetic coat again, thin, colorless, worn at the sleeves. Juliana really had sent her with nothing but shame. I stepped closer, and she turned, slowly. Her eyes locked on mine, wide and unsure. "Welcome," I said, my voice smooth as stone. "You're not late." I wasn't told what time. She started, then trailed off. Her voice was so soft I almost missed it. Almost. I didn't move, didn't blink. "You'll be staying here from now on," I said. "Your room is on the 3rd floor. It's warm, private. No one enters without my permission." She blinked at I thought I'd be in the staff quarters. "You're not staff." Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. Not staff, not guest, not servant, not yet mine. I wanted to touch her, just once. Her wrist, her jaw, to see if she'd flinch or lean in, but I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I reached behind me and signaled to Rosa, one of the older housekeepers I trusted. "She'll take you to your room. Show her everything she needs." Aurora looked from Rosa to me. "You don't have tasks for me?" I smiled, slow and, "You're not here to work, Aurora." The way her name tasted in my mouth, fuck, I could say it for the rest of my life. She swallowed hard. "Then, why am I here?" I stepped forward. She didn't move. "Good. I'm still deciding," I murmured. "But for now, understand one thing." I let my eyes travel over her. The fragile frame under the oversized coat, the nervous hands, the breath caught in her chest. "No one touches you. Not the staff, not the guards, not your sisters, not your father, no one." Her throat bobbed. "Not even you?" The question shocked me. She realized it too, instantly. Her eyes dropped, shame rushing to her cheeks. But I didn't laugh, didn't answer. Instead, I stepped back. "Go upstairs. You'll find clothes waiting. If they don't fit, I'll have them replaced." "Wait," she said softly. "Clothes? New ones," I said. "Mine. But I don't understand." I leaned in, just slightly. "You don't have to understand, Aurora. You just have to obey." She flinched, but she nodded. "Good girl." Rosa took her away, and I stood in the empty foyer, heat still simmering beneath my skin. My hands ached to pull that coat off her, not out of hunger, though that throbbed inside me, but because it didn't belong on her. She didn't belong in rags. She was born to wear silk and command silence. Born to rule from a throne built in my house. She just didn't know it yet. I walked up to my study, poured myself a drink, and sat in the dark. Her face burned behind my eyelids every time I blinked. Her scent lingered in the hall even after she was gone. This wasn't infatuation. This was possession. She would be mine, not through force, but by choice. Her body would learn my name. Her heart would bend. Her mouth would say yes before she even realized what the question was. And when she finally surrendered, God help anyone who tried to take her from me. The clock ticked on the wall. I could have called for her. Demanded she come to my room, stripped that coat myself, made her understand what it meant to be wanted by a man like me. But I didn't, because the moment I touched her, I wouldn't stop, and I wasn't ready to break her yet. No, I'd wait, just a little longer, until she came to me, willing, needing, begging, and when that moment came, she'd never walk away again.
The room was too quiet, too soft, too beautiful. It was all wrong. Rosa had brought me here without saying much. Just a polite nod and a quick tour. Closet, bathroom, balcony. I didn't hear a single raised voice. No footsteps pounding the halls. No orders barked. Only silence. And I hated it. The room was 3 times the size of the one I'd had all my life. The tiny box off the kitchen that Juliana made me scrub myself. This one had pale gold wallpaper, a velvet armchair, silk curtains. I didn't sit. I stood near the door, clutching my small bag, waiting for the next part, waiting for someone, him, to come and tell me what I was supposed to do. Nothing came, just stillness. On the bed, laid out neatly, was the dress, not the one in the box. A new one, black again, tight, shorter. There were matching heels on the floor beneath it, and beside them, a small tag pinned to the fabric. Wear this tomorrow. No name, just the command. I sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to wrinkle anything, and stared at the words. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. He hadn't touched me, not once, not when I arrived, not when I asked why I was here, not when I questioned him. He just looked, spoke in riddles, ordered my clothing like it was the most natural thing in the world. And the worst part? He didn't look at me like I was a chore, or a toy, or even a servant. He looked at me like I belonged to him, like I was already his. I touched the fabric of the dress. The smooth silk made my fingers tingle. It was nothing like anything I'd ever worn. It would show too much. Legs, arms, my shape. A dress for someone who knew how to be looked at. I didn't, but part of me wanted to. I closed my eyes and leaned back on the bed, arms folded across my chest. My heart was beating too fast. I needed to sleep, needed to clear my head. Instead, I saw him again, Adrian, standing in the hall, towering, still, watching, always watching. In the dream, I was in this room, but he was already inside, leaning against the wall like he owned the air, and I moved toward him, again, like in the other dream. I could feel the heat of him, could almost taste it. He reached for me, slow, deliberate. His hand slid around my waist, pulling me in, and when he leaned down, I thought he'd kiss me, but he whispered, "Say it." My breath caught. "Say you want me." I woke up, not with a scream, not with a gasp, just stillness, same as the room. I was burning again, heart racing, body tense. I threw off the blanket and paced. My feet were bare against the cold floor, but I didn't care. This wasn't normal. It couldn't be. He hadn't touched me, hadn't even raised his voice, and yet he was under my skin like a fever I couldn't shake. What did he want from me? Why send a dress? Why look at me like that? I paused at the mirror. My reflection stared back. Pale cheeks, messy hair, wide eyes. Not beautiful, not powerful, but he made me feel like I could be both, like I already was. I hated that. I hated him for it, and I hated myself more for wanting him to come to this room, to come now. I stood there, arms crossed, trying to will the thoughts away. They wouldn't leave, not when I still felt his voice inside my chest, not when my skin still remembered his eyes, and not when the silence he left behind felt more intimate than any touch.
She doesn't know I'm watching. She thinks she's alone, drifting through the hallways like a ghost still afraid to haunt the house. But I see her. Every morning, before sunrise, she walks down the corridor barefoot, quiet, careful, as if the floor might open beneath her. I changed the lighting in the east wing after her first night, warmer, softer, because she flinched under the bright bulbs. She didn't notice the change, but I did. I notice everything. She pauses sometimes by the windows, touches the curtains with the tips of her fingers. She never pulls them open, as if sunlight is still something she hasn't earned. That alone makes me want to tear the whole house apart. No woman should move like she's apologizing for taking up space. Especially not my woman. Today, she lingers outside the library, doesn't go in, just looks through the glass, like the books might bite. I step into view, not loudly, but not hiding. Her back stiffens before she turns. She looks at me like she always does, startled, curious, cautious, and underneath it all, something else. Heat. I can smell it feel it in the air between us. "Aurora," I say. She nods, barely speaking. I close the distance between us slowly, deliberately. She doesn't move, doesn't breathe. When I reach her, I stop just close enough that she has to tilt her head back to meet my eyes. "You're not lost, are you?" "No," she whispers. "Then what are you doing?" I was just looking." "At what?" "The books." I lean down slightly. "They won't bite," she swallows. "I didn't think they would." "Then why didn't you go in?" "I didn't know if I was allowed." My hand lifts, and for a second she thinks I'll touch her face. She stiffens, but I don't. I reach past her and open the door. It clicks softly. "You don't need permission to walk through doors in my house." She hesitates, then steps inside. I follow her, but not too close. Just enough to see the way her body moves when she walks. The way her fingers trace the shelves, nervous and curious. When she stops, she turns toward me, uncertain. "Is this really okay?" I take a slow step forward, then another. Now I'm close, very close. She doesn't step back. Good. I lift a hand and tuck a loose strand of hair behind her. The first real touch. She freezes, but doesn't pull away. Her skin is warm. So is mine. I should stop. I don't. I lean down, just enough for my breath to graze her cheek. Her eyes flutter closed. Her lips part. Every part of me wants to take her right here, against the shelves, between the silence and the dust. But I don't, because it's not time. Not yet. Instead, I whisper near her ear. You look good in this light. She exhales shakily. You should see yourself. I pull back. Her eyes meet mine again, unfocused, confused, hungry. Perfect. I turn away and walk toward the door. Halfway out, I stop. There's a young man coming down the hallway, one of the new security staff. He doesn't notice me, but he sees her and lingers. His eyes sweep over her body once, slow and obvious. Aurora doesn't even notice. She's still catching her breath, but I notice. I step fully into the hallway. The guard freezes. Problem? I ask, voice low, sharp. No, sir. Good. I stare him down until his face drains of color. Then I walk past him. Not fast, not slow. Just enough to make him sweat. I don't look back at her. If I do, I might not stop myself next time. I might show her exactly what it means to be looked at by someone who already owns her. Instead, I keep walking. But in my mind, I'm still in the library. My fingers are still in her hair, and her breath is still on my lips. And the next time I touch her, I won't stop at her ear.
I avoided the East Wing the next morning, took a different path to breakfast, walked slower, stopped to tie my shoe even though it wasn't undone. Anything to delay, anything to not see him. But it didn't matter. He was still everywhere. His scent clung to the walls, that clean spice, subtle and masculine. The kind of smell that made you want to breathe deeper without realizing why. His voice echoed in my head even when the halls were quiet. You look good in this light. I shouldn't have felt anything. It was just a compliment. But I did feel. Too much. I'd barely slept the night before. Every time I closed my eyes, the scene in the library played again. The warmth of his hand brushing my hair, the way he leaned in, the way my body reacted without permission. I pressed my thighs together under the sheets, ashamed. It wasn't normal. He hadn't even kissed me, and yet I had woken up gasping, hot, needy. I'd never felt that before. Not ever. I didn't even know what to call it. Lust? Hunger? Whatever it was, it scared me more than Juliana's slaps ever did. At breakfast, I sat alone in the kitchen, away from the staff. They were kind, mostly, but they looked at me like I didn't belong, which I didn't. Not with them, not with him, nowhere. Rosa left a tray for me, fruit, toast, tea, and said nothing. I was grateful for the silence. I tried to eat, couldn't. My body was too full of heat. Not fever, not sickness, something worse. I went back to my room, shut the door, locked it, pressed my back against it like I could keep him out of my head. Did he know what he was doing to me? Was he trying to? It felt like a slow unraveling. Every look, every word, every near touch. I wasn't being stripped by force. I was peeling away all by myself, and I hated it. But I didn't stop. I opened the closet. The black dress was still there, waiting. Tomorrow, he said. But I reached for it anyway. My fingers slid over the fabric. Slow. It was soft, delicate, sinful. I held it against me in the mirror. It clung to my shape even without being worn. My breath caught. I imagined him walking into the room, eyes low, hands in his pockets, voice like thunder in silk. Turn around. The words weren't real, just in my head. But I did. Turned slowly, holding the dress, imagining it wasn't just fabric I felt, but fingers on my waist, his hands pulling the zipper, his breath on my neck. I closed my eyes, and the shame came right behind the pleasure. My knees gave out, and I sank to the edge of the bed, pressing the dress to my chest. Stop it. I couldn't. It wasn't just lust. It was him, his presence, his silence, his control. I didn't know how to fight that. I didn't know if I wanted to, and that terrified me, because he hadn't done anything. Not really. He hadn't kissed me, touched me beyond that hair behind the ear. He hadn't made promises, hadn't confessed anything. But I could feel it in the way he watched me. I could feel it in my blood. Something was building between us. Slow, dark, thick like smoke. And if I didn't run soon, no, there was nowhere to run. I stood, shoved the dress back into the closet, and paced. My body still hummed. My chest still ached. I needed distraction, air. But when I opened the door, I froze. He was there, down the hall, leaning against the wall like he'd been waiting. His eyes met mine, and he didn't smile, didn't move, just watched. Like he knew exactly what I'd been doing in that room, exactly what I was feeling. I gripped the doorknob tighter, then shut the door again, slow, careful, and rested my forehead against the wood. God help me. I wanted him to come knock.
She's folding, not breaking, folding, softly, slowly, like silk in my hand, like fire learning to behave before it devours. I felt it yesterday when she saw me in the hallway, the flush in her cheeks, the way she froze, her pupils blown wide with something she didn't understand yet. She shut the door like it could stop me. It couldn't. I didn't follow, didn't need to. The war was already mine. Now it was time to show the rest of them. The table in the main hall was full, 12 men, 2 women, all heads of their own branches, weapons, ports, transport, finance. Some were new, some had known my father. None dared to speak first. I sat at the head, glass of bourbon untouched. I let the silence stretch, then I said it. Her name is Aurora, murmurs. I watched them squirm. She's staying here, in this house, under my protection. One man cleared his throat. I think his name was Luca. He ran operations on the south side. With all due respect, sir. Who is she? I smiled. Mine. Another silence. Tighter this time. Less confusion. More tension. One of the older men, Gregorio, leaned forward. Is she an asset? A connection? Are we expecting an alliance? No, I said simply. We're not expecting anything. She's from Juliana's family, someone muttered. The illegitimate one. I tilted my head. And? More silence. That was the beauty of it. They couldn't say what they were really thinking. That she wasn't worthy, that she didn't belong, that she had no power. Because I had already spoken, and what I said was law. She will no longer be referred to as illegitimate, I said, voice low, final. She will be treated with the respect of a woman under my name. A pause. Then, for the kill, she'll be my wife. That shattered the table. Whispers, side glances, raised brows. Gregorio even dropped his glass. I didn't flinch. Let them talk. Let them fear. Let them question what kind of man crowns a servant girl. Because what they didn't know, what she didn't even, was that I wasn't doing this to shock. I was doing it because no one else would ever deserve her. No one else would ever touch her. No one else would survive the thought. Let the bastards stare. Let the world burn. I stood without a word and left the room. Upstairs, the hall was quiet. I stopped outside her door. Didn't knock. Didn't breathe. I just stood there for a moment, listening. Nothing. She was probably pacing again, dreaming of running. Good. She should. It would only make her submission sweeter. I walked back to my own room, tore off the jacket, poured a new drink. This time, I drank it. The taste burned, but it didn't calm me. Nothing would. Not until I had her. Tonight, I had declared her mine. Tomorrow, I'd make sure she believed it. And soon, she'd say it out loud. And when she does, the world will learn what happens to anyone who looks at what's mine.
I found out from Rosa. She didn't mean to tell me. Just slipped it in between setting the table and adjusting the flowers in the foyer. Big meeting today, she muttered. He told them. About you. My hands stilled over the napkin I was folding. Told them… what? Rosa looked up, then blinked like she realized too late. He said you're going to be his wife. I couldn't breathe. I dropped the napkin. She tried to cover. I'm sure he didn't mean, but I was already moving. The hall outside his study was quiet. Too quiet. I didn't knock. I shoved the door open. Adrian looked up from behind his desk, calm as ever. One brow lifted, just slightly. Aurora, he said, like my name was a flavor he enjoyed. You told them? I asked, breathless. That I'm going to be your wife? Yes. No hesitation. Just that one word, like it was a fact already printed in stone. I stepped closer. Why? He stood, slowly, came around the desk with deliberate grace. Not a threat. Not rushed, but not safe either. Because you are, he said. You didn't ask me. I don't need to. I stared at him, throat tight, hands clenched. You can't just decide. Yes, I can, he cut in, voice low. Because no one else will ever have you. Not now. Not ever. He was in front of me now, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his chest. You don't own me, I whispered. I will. His eyes burned into mine. There was no apology in him, no guilt, just certainty, arrogant, dangerous, unshakable. And the worst part? The worst part was how my heart pounded at those words, how something deep in me answered. I'm not some prize, I said. I'm not a dress to be picked off a shelf. No, he agreed. You're the fire I'm going to wear like a crown. That stopped me cold. His hand lifted. I flinched, but he didn't touch my face. He reached past me, closed the door. The click echoed. We were alone. He looked down at me, slow and measured. I know what you're feeling, he said. You think it's fear? But it's not. I took a shaky breath. Then what is it? Desire. I swallowed. You're wrong. He stepped forward. Then why haven't you moved? I didn't have an answer. He reached up and traced a line through the air just inches from my skin. not touching but so close I could feel the heat. His fingers hovered at my jaw, then lower, past my collarbone, still not touching. My body screamed for contact. My breath hitched. I hated him for this, for knowing exactly what I wanted before I did. He leaned in. I should have stopped him, but I didn't. When his lips met mine, the world collapsed. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't rushed either. It was deliberate. He kissed me like he already knew every part of me, like he'd waited forever and wasn't going to waste a second. His hand finally touched my waist. My knees nearly gave out. I melted into him. Shame flared, but it couldn't fight the heat. My hands fisted in his shirt. And when he pulled back, just barely, I chased him. A breath, a heartbeat, a desperate inch. His mouth curved. "Say it," he whispered. "Say what?" "That you want me." I looked at him, lips still tingling, body trembling, but I couldn't speak. Not yet. He kissed me once more, soft this time, a promise, then stepped back, and I hated how empty the space felt between us. He didn't say another word. He just turned and walked away, and I stood there, burning from the inside out.
I told myself I wouldn't react, told myself I could handle it, that I was above petty things like jealousy, that I didn't need to mark what was already mine. But then I saw her smile, not at me, at him, Enzo. He was standing too close. They were in the back garden, quiet, hidden between the hedges near the fountain. I had just finished a call in my office when I spotted them through the window. At first, it looked harmless. She was seated on the stone bench, hands in her lap. He stood beside her, saying something. She laughed, softly, uncertainly, but she laughed, and then she smiled. My chest went tight. He leaned in, just slightly, speaking low, his eyes fixed on her lips, mine. I was moving before I realized it. Down the stairs, out the door, across the grass. Neither of them heard me coming. "Aurora," she turned, startled. Enzo straightened. "Sir, walk away." But my eyes met his. He shut up. He knew. Enzo nodded, stiffly, and walked toward the house. His shoulders were tense. I almost hoped he'd turn back, give me an excuse. But he didn't. I turned to her. She looked up at me, confused. "What was that?" I didn't let her finish. I grabbed her wrist. Not hard, not cruel, but firm, and pulled her to me. She gasped, stumbling forward until her body met mine, and then I kissed her. No warning, no hesitation, no softness. I kissed her like she was oxygen and I'd been drowning, like I needed her breath more than she needed mine. She stiffened, then melted. Her hands grabbed the front of my shirt. Her lips parted. She kissed me back, tentative at first, then hungry, like she'd been waiting. I deepened it, my fingers tangling in her hair. I didn't care who saw. Let them. Let the guards talk. Let Enzo watch from the window. Let the entire damn city burn with it. When I pulled away, her eyes were glassy. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. I didn't move, neither did she. I leaned down, my lips brushing her ear. "No one else," I said. "No one speaks to you like, no one stands that close. No one makes you smile like." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I stepped back, just a little. She was still in my hands, still mine. "I'm not yours," she whispered, barely audible. I smirked. "You will be." Then I walked away. Not because I wanted to, but because if I stayed, I wouldn't stop at a kiss. And next time, I won't stop at her mouth.
The zipper snapped in my hand. I froze. The fabric split down the side, torn where it should have glided. I stood in front of the mirror, half-dressed, breathless. They had cut it. The stitching had been sliced, just enough that I wouldn't notice until it was too late. And now the dress gaped open along my hip, exposing bare skin. Lucia. Sophia. I should have known. Rage swelled in my chest, but it had nowhere to go. The dinner was in 20 minutes. The guests were arriving. I had no backup, no time, no other dress. The door opened. I spun, clutching the fabric to my chest. Adrian stepped inside, calm as always, eyes already on me. I didn't have time to speak. His gaze dropped to the ruined dress, then to my hands, then lower. I swallowed hard. I didn't know. They cut it. Don't move, he said. His voice was low, commanding, but not cruel. He stepped forward, eyes locked on mine. His fingers reached for the torn seam and lifted it slowly. He didn't tug. He didn't rush. He touched the fabric like it was my skin. Or maybe he didn't care which was which. My breath caught. He looked up. They did this on purpose. I nodded. His jaw tightened, but his voice remained even. "I'll deal with them later." Then he turned, walked to the closet, and pulled out a new dress. Dark green, silk, thinner, lower at the back, shorter at the hem. He returned to me without asking permission. "Lift your arms." I did, wordless, spellbound. He peeled the ruined dress away slowly, his knuckles grazing my ribs, my sides, my back. He was careful, almost reverent. His fingers brushed my bare shoulder, and every part of me burned. He didn't look away. Not once. He didn't leer, didn't smirk. But his eyes, God, they devoured. He held up the new dress, unzipped it, and stepped closer. Turn around. I turned. He guided the fabric over me, sliding it down gently, smoothing it along my sides. His fingers brushed every inch as he worked. Neck, spine, waist. My breath hitched. His hands were warm, confident, inescapable. He leaned in, just barely. His mouth was near my ear. Everyone out there will see you tonight. I closed my eyes. But only I will know how soft your skin feels. I gripped the front of the dress to keep from shaking. He zipped it up slowly, one tooth at a time. Then his hand settled on my hips. You're trembling. I'm not used to this. He didn't let go. You will be. We stood there in silence. I could feel his breath against my neck, my pulse pounding under his palms. And then he stepped back. I turned. He looked at me like I was already his. And worse, part of me wanted to be. I don't know who I am in this dress, I whispered. He walked to the door and opened it. He didn't look back when he answered. You're mine. And as I followed him into the light, I wasn't sure if I was dressed or claimed.
She descended the stairs like sin dressed in silk. The dress clung to her like a secret. Dark green, deep cut, high slit. I chose it. I zipped it. I touched every inch of fabric before it touched her. But now, watching her from across the room, I wanted to tear it off. The dining hall shimmered with soft lights and low voices. Men in suits, women in jewels. Laughter that meant nothing, until she entered. Then it all stopped. They turned. Every single one of them. Eyes lingered. Some on her legs, some on her lips, some on places they had no right to imagine. I didn't breathe. She stood at the edge of the crowd, unsure, shoulders tense, but chin slightly lifted, proud. Even if she didn't know it, she looked for me. She always did. And when she found me, near the far wall, hands in my pockets, she stilled. Her eyes held mine. I nodded once. She walked toward, not rushed, not afraid, like a queen learning how to move through her. But they stared, they whispered, and one man didn't whisper at all. Dio, he muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. She looks edible, Luca. He didn't know the line he just crossed. I stepped toward him. He turned, surprised, half grinning. I didn't smile. I got close enough for him to see how serious I was. Say it again, I said. He blinked. What? Say it again. His grin faltered. I didn't mean, she's not for your mouth, I said, low and flat. Not in words. Not in dreams. Not even in thought. Luca's jaw tightened. It was a compliment. Compliment your own death, if you want to taste her name again. I let the words settle, then turned. Aurora stood behind me. She had heard. Her cheeks were flushed, but not with shame, not with fear, with something else. I held out my hand. She took it. I led her down the hall, past murmurs and stolen glances, past waiters and guards and chandeliers, into the shadows. She said nothing as I pressed her back against the cold marble wall outside the ballroom, but her breath caught, and her hands stayed at her sides, open, ready. I leaned in, one hand braced above her shoulder. You saw them looking. She nodded. You felt it. Another nod. And? I didn't like it, she whispered. Why? Her lips parted. Her throat moved. Because they weren't you. I kissed her. Not like in the garden. This one was slow, full of heat and warning. My hands cupped her waist, pulled her to me, pressed her against every hard line of my body. Her fingers curled against my chest. Her mouth opened for me, soft and willing. I tasted her sigh. She tasted like fire. When I pulled back, her eyes were glassy. You belong to me, I said. No one else gets to look. No one else gets to wonder. She nodded. Barely. Say it. I belong to you. It came out like a confession, or a promise. I stepped back, fixed her dress, smoothed her hair, and when she looked at me like I was the only thing holding her together, I knew she was mine. And if anyone tried to take her again, I'd rip the world apart, smiling.
I didn't expect them to be waiting, but there they were. Lucia and Sophia, leaning against the archway near the back corridor, glasses half full, eyes brimming with venom. I had just left Adrian, lips still tingling, breath still unsteady. I needed air, solitude. I got them instead. Well, look who thinks she's royalty now, Sophia sneered. Lucia smirked. Careful, sister. That dress might slip off. Wouldn't want everyone seeing what he already has. I stopped. I could have walked away. Before, I would have. Lowered my head. Stayed quiet. Pretended I didn't hear. But not now. Not after the kiss. Not after the look in Adrian's eyes when I said I belonged to you. I turned. straightened my spine, met theirs. He hasn't, I said, voice calm, steady. They blinked. What? Lucia asked. He hasn't had me, I repeated. But you're dying to believe he has, aren't you? Their smirks wavered. Sophia scoffed. That won't last. You're just a toy. A novelty. Men like him don't marry. He already announced it. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. The silence between us thickened. He told them, I continued. All of them. Every man in that room tonight. I'm not his maid. I'm not his pet. I'm his future. Lucia's eyes narrowed. He's playing you. Maybe, I said. But if he is, I'm still standing where you've only ever begged to be. That landed. Sophia stepped forward. You think you're better than us? No, I said. I think I've finally stopped being less. Their mouths opened, then shut. I felt it, the shift, the weight lifting. It didn't matter what they thought. They couldn't touch me anymore. I turned to leave, and that's when I saw him, Adrian, standing down the hall, half in shadow, arms folded. He'd heard, he'd seen. I didn't know how long he'd been there, but he didn't move, didn't interrupt. He just watched me walk away, and I walked taller. Back to my room, heels clicking like a drumbeat in my own ears. Inside, I shut the door and leaned against it. I wasn't shaking. Not this time. The fear wasn't gone, but it wasn't in control either. There was something else now. Something rising. Not pride. Not yet. Power. Not because of Adrian. Because of what I'd become next to him. I walked to the mirror. The dress still clung to my body like it was made for me. Maybe it was. I ran my fingers down the curve of my hip. Remembered his touch there. The zipper sliding up my spine. His hands steady, claiming, gentle in the cruelest way. The old version of me would have cried from tonight. This one? She smiled. And for the first time, I saw a woman in the mirror. Not a servant, not a mistake, just me.
I saw her do it. Stand tall, stare them down, speak without shaking. She didn't know I was watching, but I saw everything, and it was beautiful. Not because she embarrassed them, though she did. Not because she silenced them, though they've been quiet ever since. Because she found her voice, and now I wanted to sharpen it. The study was empty except for us. She stood in front of me, arms crossed, nervous, curious. I circled her like a storm about to hit. I'm not teaching you to pretend, I said. I'm not turning you into someone else. She nodded. I'm showing you what's already in you. Why? She asked softly. Because I don't want a woman who hides. I stopped in front of her. I want one who commands. Her eyes flicked up. There it was again, the spark. I took her through the basics. How to hold her shoulders, where to place her hands, when to speak, when to pause. Every correction came with touch. Light, precise, necessary. I adjusted her chin with 2 fingers, touched her lower back to straighten her spine, moved her hips a fraction of an inch. She shivered every time. So did I. We didn't speak about it. We didn't need to. After an hour she was flushed, her hair falling loose around her face, her breathing shallow, but she was stunning. Again, I said. She lifted her chin. My name is Aurora Vitale. My throat tightened. Not yet, but soon. She took a step toward me. Her heel caught the edge of the rug. She stumbled. I caught her. My arms locked around her waist. Her palms landed on my chest. She looked up, wide-eyed, mouth slightly open. Close. Too close. She didn't move. Neither did I. Then, she kissed me. Fast. Soft. Desperate. I froze. And then I kissed her back. Hard. One hand slid into her hair. The other gripped her waist. She moaned into my mouth. God. I pulled her tighter, lifted her slightly, pressed her against the edge of the desk. The kiss deepened. Her fingers clenched my shirt. My tongue tasted her lips, her breath, her surrender. She was shaking, but she didn't stop. I did. Barely. I pulled back, forehead resting against hers, both of us gasping. I told you, I whispered. You don't know what you're doing to me. I think I do now, she said. I laughed once, low, dark, ruined. Then I stepped back, fixed her hair, let her breathe. Go, I said, before I forget my patience. She lingered in the doorway. Will you kiss me again? She asked. My jaw clenched. Next time, it won't be just a kiss. Her eyes widened. She left, and I sat at the desk she'd nearly been taken on, hands trembling, blood hot, and the taste of her still on my tongue was the closest thing to mercy I've ever known.
I woke with the ghost of his mouth still on mine. The air in my room was still, heavy, my skin warm beneath the sheets, my body buzzing from memory. I didn't dream, not in pictures, only in sensation, hands gripping, mouth claiming, my heart beating so hard it stole the breath from my chest. He'd stopped it, that kiss. He pulled away before it could become something else, something more, but he wanted it, and worse. So did I. I stared at my reflection for a long time that morning, Same face. Same eyes. But something had changed. It wasn't just desire. It wasn't just Adrian's hands on me. It was power. I had never felt it before, never dared to want it. Now it clung to my skin like perfume, intoxicating, irreversible. Then Rosa knocked. "There's someone here," she said quietly, "in the garden, asking for you." My heart skipped. I already knew. Enzo stood by the fountain, just like before, but the world around me felt different now, sharper, louder. His eyes softened when he saw me. "Aurora," he said. "You look—" He stopped. "You've changed." I didn't smile. "So have you." He stepped closer. "I've been trying to see you for days. They wouldn't let me in. They protect me." He flinched. "From me?" "From everything." He looked down. "You're not safe here. You know that." I didn't answer. He looked back up. "I know what you think you feel for him, but it's not real. He's not safe, Aurora. He's poison wrapped in silk." I laughed, soft, bitter. "I don't want safe." The word surprised even me. Enzo blinked. "What?" "I've lived safe. I've lived invisible. I've lived small." I took a breath. "Now, I want more." He stepped forward, desperate. "Come with me. Tonight. We'll leave. I'll take care of you. We'll disappear." I felt the tear before it fell. He meant it. He always meant it. But I couldn't. I looked at him, really looked. His eyes were full of history, of comfort, of everything I used to be. Adrian's eyes were full of fire, of future, of everything I was becoming. I stepped forward, placed a kiss on Enzo's cheek, gentle, grateful. "I'm sorry," I whispered. His jaw tensed. "You love him?" I shook my head. "It's not about love." "Then what?" I met his eyes one last time. "It's about who I am, when I'm with him." He turned away before I saw him cry, but I felt it, and I mourned him, but not enough to run. Back inside, I walked slowly. Every step away from Enzo felt like a tether snapping, but I didn't stop. I entered the hall. Adrian was there, leaning against the far wall, waiting, as always. He said nothing. Neither did I. I just walked up to him. He searched my face. "Did he ask you to run?" I nodded. "And?" I stayed. His eyes burned into me. He didn't reach for me, didn't touch me, just smiled. That dark, satisfied curve of his lips that made my knees weak. And in that moment, I knew I had just chosen a life that would never let me go.
She stayed. That was all I needed. No dramatic vows, no whispered declarations, no promises sealed in tears, just that. She stayed. And something in me, something ancient and starving, exhaled for the first time. I didn't speak, didn't offer my hand. I simply turned and walked down the hallway, knowing she would follow. She did. Each step behind me was soft, certain. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of the house, not of me, not of what was about to happen. And that made it. Because now I wanted to ruin her beautifully. The room was lit only by the fireplace. I stood by the window, listening to her close the door behind us. She didn't move at first. Neither did I. We existed in silence. The kind that hums between thunder and the strike. I turned. She stood in the center of the room, hands at her sides, chest rising slowly, waiting, open, but not uncertain. My feet moved before I could stop them. When I reached her, I didn't touch her. Not yet. Just stared. She stared back. Her pupils were wide, her lips slightly parted, her breath shallow. I circled her once. Then again. Let her feel the weight of my gaze, the pressure of being wanted so completely that it became a language. Then I stopped behind her, leaning close, my mouth inches from her ear. "You know what this means." She nodded. "You're not leaving after this." "I know. You'll belong to me." "I already do." I closed my eye. Let those words anchor me. Then I lifted one hand, slow, deliberate, and touched the zipper at her back. It slid down like breath. The dress fell apart around her. She gasped when it loosened, slipping from her shoulders and pooling at her feet in a soft whisper of silk. She stood in nothing but lace, dark, delicate, trembling, and when I finally laid my hands on her bare skin, she shivered. I traced the line of her spine, her hips, her arms. No rush. I needed her to feel every second. I stepped in closer, pressed my chest to her back, my mouth to her neck. She tilted her head, welcoming, inviting. My lips found the spot just beneath her ear, the one I knew would undo her. She inhaled sharply. Her hands reached behind her, searching for. I caught them, brought them forward, placed them flat against the wall in front of her. "Keep them there," I murmured. She nodded. "Good girl." I kissed her shoulder, down to the curve of her back, then turned her slowly to face me. Her eyes were glassy, her chest heaving, but she didn't look away. She watched as I unbuttoned my shirt, one by one, slow, measured. When it fell away, she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since the day we met. My hands went to her thighs, lifting her gently, carrying her to the bed. She lay back without resistance, and I took my time. I kissed every inch of her skin, her stomach, her hips, her inner thighs. I let my fingers trail places no one had ever touched, and when she arched beneath me, moaning my name, her voice full of want, and she was ready. I climbed over her, kissing her, stealing her breath as I settled between her legs. She wrapped her arms around my shoulders, her legs around my. I pushed in slowly. She gasped, froze. I paused, waited, eyes on her. She nodded, trembling. I want it, she whispered. I know. I breathed. I moved again, deeper. She whimpered, fingers digging into my back, tears springing to her lashes. But she didn't stop me, and when I was fully inside her, buried to the hilt, we both just breathed. I held still, let her adjust, let her feel everything. She blinked up at me. I didn't know it would feel like this. Like what? Like being filled with something I was missing. God. I kissed her hard then, started to move, slow, deep, intentional. She moaned beneath me, whimpered, begged, and I gave her everything. My mouth on her throat, my voice in her ear, my hands clutching her hips, her wrists, her waist. She came undone beneath me, shaking, crying out my name like a prayer and a curse. And I followed, burying my face in her neck, losing myself inside her with a growl I couldn't hold back. When it was over, we didn't move. I stayed inside her, arms wrapped around her small body, breath mingling with hers. She traced circles on my back with trembling fingers. I pressed kisses to her hair. She was mine now, not just in body, in soul. And when I whispered her name again, she said mine back, like it belonged to her, just as much as she belonged to me.
I woke with sunlight on my skin and his scent on my body. The sheets were tangled around us, my legs still knotted with his, my head against his chest. His breathing was deep, steady, safe, not in the way Enzo meant. This wasn't gentle safety. This was power wrapped around me, mine. I slipped from the bed, careful not to wake him, and walked to the mirror. The girl staring back was the same, but not really. Her shoulders were straighter. Her mouth, swollen from kisses, was tilted in something close to satisfaction. She looked like a woman who'd been claimed, but more than that, a woman who chose to be. Rosa knocked just after breakfast. "She's here," she said, "in the front parlor." I didn't need to ask who. Juliana. She hadn't been seen in weeks. She wasn't invited. But now she was here, like a snake slithering back to the fire. I nodded. "Tell Adrian." He didn't come storming in. He didn't growl or threaten or bark. He just appeared at my side as I entered the room. Silent, solid, mine. Juliana stood, dressed in white, always pretending innocent. Lucia and Sophia flanked her, their eyes downcast. Juliana's mouth twisted in something meant to be a smile. "My sweet girl." I didn't sit, didn't flinch. "You're not welcome here." She blinked. "I only came to speak, to apologize." "No," I said. "You came because you're losing everything." She opened her mouth, but I didn't give her the chance. "I was never enough for you. Never good enough. Never clean enough. You tried to erase me before I even became someone. Aurora, you made me a servant in my own home," I said, louder now. "You gave me broken clothes and broken words and expected me to thank you for them." She went pale. "And now you stand here in my house pretending you care?" Sophia started to speak. Lucia gripped her wrist. "I was trying to protect your father. He's not here." I stepped closer. Adrian didn't stop me. He let me go. Let me take the room. "Juliana," I said, "you will leave this house. Today. You will not return. You will not write. You will not ask for favors. You will not speak my name again." Her eyes narrowed. "You think you're untouchable now?" "No," I said. "I know I am." She looked at Adrian. He didn't blink, didn't smile, just stood there, tall, silent, terrifying. Her mask cracked. I turned to the sisters. "You have one chance. One." They looked up. "You will be civil. You will obey. You will rebuild your lives, under my terms. If not, you can go with her." They both nodded, tears in their eyes. Juliana walked toward the door, stiff and shaking. She paused beside me. "You think you've won?" I met her gaze. "I didn't win. I survived. And now I rule." She left, and the silence she left behind felt like sunlight. Back in my room, I stood before the mirror again. Same face, same eyes, but now, a throne behind them. Adrian came in quietly. He said nothing, just placed his hands on my waist, kissed the top of my shoulder, and rested his forehead against mine. And I knew, with every breath, I would never be small again.
Power bends for her now. I've watched it happen. Slowly, then all at once. The same girl who once trembled under her own roof now moves through my halls like she built them. Eyes follow her, but not like before. There's no mockery now, no curiosity, only fear and awe. Juliana is gone, exiled, as she should have been long ago. Her daughters walk softly, speak less, and look at Aurora like they've seen a ghost rise from the fire they started. I don't speak of it. She doesn't need me to. She ended that chapter with her own hands. The wedding is in 2 days. I've never believed in ceremony, never cared for white flowers or gold rings or paper vows. But this isn't about tradition. This is declaration. The entire city has been summoned, not because I want to be seen, but because I want them to watch. Watch her walk down an aisle carved through men who once called her nothing. Watch her speak promises over a kingdom she once served from the shadows. Watch her sit beside me and rule with fire in her veins. They'll clap, they'll kneel, they'll remember. Today, the inner circle meets in the old chamber. Luca is still shaken, still silent when she enters. Gregorio too, older, wiser, with eyes that never leave her face. She wears black, simple, sleeveless. The scar from a candle burn her forearm exposed like a badge. She doesn't hide it. I sit beside her, not in front of her. We speak of shipments, expansion, a new alliance forming in the north. She listens, then speaks, sharp, clear, measured. When she finishes, the room nods. No one questions her, because she doesn't borrow mine. She holds her own. I lean back, arms folded, watching her. For the first time in my life, I don't feel the need to lead, only protect, only claim, only worship. Later, I find her on the balcony. The sun bleeds into the horizon, casting gold over her skin. She doesn't hear me at first. Her hands rest on the stone, her hair loose, her breath slow. Aurora. She turns, soft smile, eyes bright. I step behind her, arms wrapping around her waist. She leans back into me without hesitation. We stay like that. No words, only wind, only warmth. You're not afraid, I murmur. No, you should be. Why? Because once I say the words in front of them, you'll never leave. I know. Not even in death. She twists in my arms, looks up. I'm not yours because you're powerful. No? No, she whispers. I'm yours because you gave me the match, and let me burn everything down. I kiss her, slow, deep, grateful. The world may fear me, but I fear only one thing now. Losing the fire I was lucky enough to touch, and when she wears my name, I will wear hers, like armor against the rest of the world.
The doors opened, and the world went quiet. For a heartbeat, I didn't move. Then I stepped forward, one foot in front of the other, over polished marble and petals laid by trembling hands. Every eye in the room turned to me, some in shock, some in awe, some in silent rage, but none dared speak. I walked between rows of men in suits, women in silk, between loyalty and fear, history and future. They used to call me invisible. Now they couldn't look away. Adrian stood at the end of the aisle, not in white, not in gold, but in black, sleek, precise, dangerous. His hands were clasped behind his back, his shoulders still, his eyes locked on mine like I was the only thing that had ever mattered. I felt no nerves, no doubt, only gravity, pulling me to him. I reached him. He held out his hand. I placed mine in it. And the entire room exhaled. There were no priests, no books, no rituals, just us, and silence. He turned to face me fully, fingers tightening around mine. I offer you no safety, he said, voice low, meant only for me. No peace, no quiet. I don't want them, I whispered. I offer you fire, fury, a kingdom built in blood. I'll rule beside you. I offer you my name, he said, but you already made it mean something. And I offer you my soul, I replied, because you taught it how to breathe. He lifted my hand, kissed my knuckles, slipped the ring onto my finger, heavy, precious, final. When I did the same, his jaw tense, just a little. His control breaking at the edges. The officiant said nothing. He didn't need to. We were already bound, in every way. The room erupted in applause, but I heard none of it, only his voice when he leaned in and said, "You're mine now," and my whisper back, "No, we're each other's." The night was windless and dark, but the air between us was alight. Adrian closed the door behind him, and the silence in our room was deeper than any vow. I stood by the window. He crossed to me, slowly, deliberately. He didn't speak, didn't need to. His hands touched my shoulders, slid down my arms, turned me to face him. He didn't rush, he didn't demand. He just looked, like he was seeing me for the very first time, and the 1000th. I reached for him first, undid his jacket, pressed my palms to his chest, felt his heart race under my fingers. He lifted my veil, brushed hair from my face. His lips touched my forehead, my cheek, then my mouth, soft, devoted, sure. He carried me to the bed like I was sacred, and when he laid me down, he didn't make love like a man claiming a body. He worshipped like a man kneeling before a miracle. He whispered my name like a psalm, and I said his like a prayer I had always known. That night I didn't fall asleep. I simply stopped needing to dream.
She was wearing red, and every man on that beach was going to regret waking up this morning. The bikini barely counted as fabric, thin triangles held together by threads of string and sin. Her skin glowed under the sun, kissed gold by salt and heat. She didn't walk. She owned the ground under her, and she was mine. But she was teasing me. She knew exactly what she was doing. The sway of her hips, the stretch of her arms above her head, the way she tilted her head back when she laughed at something Rosa said. My fingers tightened around the glass in my hand. I didn't like being watched. I especially didn't like men looking at my wife like she was something they could even dream about touching. She caught me staring, of course she did, and smiled. That smile, slow, sharp, intentional. She adjusted the strap of her bikini top with one graceful flick of her fingers. The man 2 loungers over nearly choked on his drink. I stood. She raised a brow. I didn't say a word. I walked to her, took her hand, and pulled her up, gently, but without room for question. She followed without protest, but her grin said everything. We disappeared behind the white canopy at the edge of the villa's private terrace. The second we were out of view, I pressed her back against the column and caged her in with my body. Her breath hitched. You think I didn't notice? I murmured, voice low against her throat. I don't know what you mean, she whispered back, eyelashes fluttering like she was innocent. I grabbed her waist, pulled her flush against me. You wore that to punish me. She laughed softly. I wore it because it's hot. It won't be on you for long, she smirked. Is that a promise? I kissed her before I could answer, rough, desperate. Her fingers tangled in my hair, her legs parting just enough for my thigh to settle between them. She gasped against my mouth. You know, I murmured, dragging my lips along her jaw. You don't have to make me jealous to get my attention. But it's fun, I growled low in my chest. Dangerous games, wife, she smiled. I like the way you play. I looked down at her. Sunlight danced in her eyes. She was radiant, untouchable, and mine. No crown could look better on her than the marks I left behind last night, or the ring she wore on her finger. I love watching you walk into a room, I said, brushing my thumb along her cheek. I know. I love knowing every man who looks at you sees exactly what they'll never have. She tilted her head. And what do you see? I leaned in, lips grazing hers. My salvation, my damnation. Her breath caught. My queen. She softened in my arms. I lifted her effortlessly. She wrapped herself around me like she'd done it 1,000 times before, and maybe she had, in other lives. I carried her inside, laid her on the cool sheets. Her hair fanned out like fire across the pillow, and when I looked at her, I didn't see the girl I'd taken from a house that never saw her. I saw the woman who brought this empire to its knees, with nothing but a glance. And I knew then I could spend the rest of my life worshipping the way she smiled when she knew she had all of me.
5 years later, the shout echoed down the hall like a war cry. Mommy! The shout came from somewhere deep within the hallway, followed by the unmistakable sound of something glass breaking. Adrian didn't flinch. He took another slow sip of espresso, eyes still fixed on the newspaper. I raised an eyebrow across the breakfast table. That was your son. He's your son when he breaks things, he replied calmly. I snorted and rose, silk robe swishing at my ankles. I'll go see which heir destroyed which antique. He watched me walk away. I could feel his eyes, always. Even now, after 3 children and 5 years of marriage, Adrian still looked at me like I was the only thing in any room worth seeing. I didn't rush. Our daughter met me halfway down the hall, curls bouncing, cheeks flushed. She had a paintbrush in one hand, and half her dress was blue. Mama! He knocked over the vase and blamed the ghost. The ghost, hmm? She nodded solemnly. He said it lives in Papa's study, with the scary painting. I knelt and wiped her hands. Remind me to thank your father for telling bedtime stories with murder and mafiosos. She grinned. He says you're the scariest one. I smiled. He's right. The house was loud now, alive. Once it had felt like a museum of marble and whispers. Now it pulsed with life, toys in the corners, fingerprints on glass, the scent of fresh bread and chaos. I ruled it with an iron will and a soft heart. And Adrian? He watched it all with a quiet pride that he didn't voice. But I saw it every time he picked up a child with one arm and a pistol with the other. Our balance, our empire, our peace. Sundays were always family days, which meant the formal dining room was full and noisy. Lucia and Sophia sat to one side. They'd changed. Still elegant, still sharp, but their eyes didn't burn the way they used to. They worked with me now, under my terms. Trusted but never forgotten. They didn't challenge my voice anymore, and they never raised theirs. Sophia now taught art at one of the private academies we funded. Lucia handled charity events. Neither of them dared leave the family's protection, because they'd learned painfully what happened when you underestimated the girl you once stepped on. They called me Aurora now. Never bastard, Never servant, just Aurora, as it should have always been. And then, there was my father. He came late that day, always unsure, always hesitant. He walked with a limp now, age weighing down his shoulders more than any regret ever had. I rose when I saw him, so did the room. He paused in the doorway like he didn't belong. Maybe he didn't, but I nodded, and he entered. He kissed my cheek, hands trembling. Thank you for letting me come. I nodded again. Your family. I wasn't. No, I said quietly. You weren't. The room grew still. Even the children sensed something. He looked at the table, at Adrian beside me, at the empire we had built, not from gold, but from bone and silence and fury. And then he knelt. I didn't stop him. I blamed you, he whispered, for things you never did, for your mother, for my weakness. I didn't see you because I didn't want to. My throat tightened. I watched them hurt you, and I let it happen. I looked down at the man who had once turned his back on me, and then at the children watching, 3 pairs of eyes wide with wonder. I reached for his hand, helped him up. You don't get to rewrite the past, I said gently, but you can help write what comes next. He nodded, eyes wet. Thank you, he whispered. I didn't smile, but I didn't cry either. Later, I sat on the veranda with Adrian. The sun set slowly over the gardens. The children played in the grass, laughter echoing like music through the estate. He sat beside me, fingers laced with mine. You didn't have to forgive him, he said softly. I didn't. He looked at me. I gave him peace, I explained. Forgiveness is mine to hold, not his to earn. He kissed my knuckles. And the girls? They kneel now. He smirked. I've noticed. I leaned into his shoulder. It's strange, I murmured. How far we've come. No, he said. It's exactly where we were always meant to arrive. I turned my face to his. I love you. I know. I still burn for you. His eyes darkened. Good. He stood, held out his hand. Then come inside, Mrs. Vitale. And as I rose from that chair, from my house, from my throne, I carried the name they gave me, not as a burden, but as a crown.
1 year later, the blood didn't bother me. Not anymore. The blood didn't bother me. Not anymore. It was routine now. The interrogation, the silence, the screams. 3 men, traitors, liars. One begged, one cursed, one cried. None of them walked out. Their blood still clung to my knuckles. My jaw was tight. My shirt ruined. The scent of smoke and steel clung to my skin. I didn't feel regret. I never did. But the moment I stepped into our bedroom, the scent of lavender replaced the stench of violence. The dim light, the hush, the warmth. And then, she entered, hair down, robe loose. She stopped when she saw me. Her eyes ran over the stains on my shirt, the bruises forming on my forearm, the tension that wrapped my spine like armor. She didn't flinch. She never did. Aurora walked toward me, barefoot on marble, soft steps like thunder in my chest. You didn't change, she said softly. I didn't want to touch anything until I touched you. Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. She reached for my jacket, slid it off my shoulders without a word. The fabric fell to the floor with a whisper. She lifted my hand, unbuttoned my shirt slowly. One by one. She peeled the blood-soaked fabric away from my skin, her fingers brushing old scars, fresh cuts. She didn't ask what happened. She never needed to. Her hands moved with purpose, reverent, ritual. When the shirt was gone, she placed her palms flat on my chest. You're shaking. I'm not. You are. She leaned up, pressed her lips to the center of my chest, right over my heart. It stops now, she whispered. I didn't argue. I let her take my hand and lead me to the bathroom. The tub was already full. Of course it was. She knew me too well. She helped me step inside. The water was hot, scalding, perfect. I sank into it with a low groan, muscles loosening for the first time in hours. She knelt beside me, sleeves rolled, eyes locked on mine. She dipped a cloth in the water and began to clean me. Neck, shoulders, hands. She was slow, careful. She paused at each wound, each smear of blood. She kissed one, then another. My breathing deepened. Her fingers brushed down my chest. She stood, dropped her robe, stepped into the tub, and sank onto my lap, straddling me without hesitation. Her knees pressed against my hips, her skin warm and slick against mine. My hands found her waist. You shouldn't be near me when I'm like this. I only want you like this, she said, covered in blood, covered in proof that you protect what's yours. Her lips found my throat, soft, worshipful. You're not afraid? Of you? She asked. Then she looked into my eyes. I'm only afraid of what I'd be without you. I groaned and pulled her closer. Her hands slid into my hair. Her hips shifted, just enough to make me burn. You want me to stop? She whispered. No. Then say it. I grabbed her chin, locked my eyes on her. I need you, she smiled. Not sweet, not innocent, powerful. Like a queen who knew her throne was, she moved against me, slow and deliberate, and when I sank into her, it was like salvation, not rushed, not violent, just her mouth opened on a gasp, my name a whisper on her tongue. I held her like she was all that kept me human, and maybe she was. When we finally came undone, tangled and breathless, she rested her head on my shoulder, and I whispered, "You're the only place I ever want to return to." She kissed my neck, "You never left." And that night, as our kingdom slept, I was just a man, washed clean by the hands of the only woman who ever truly owned